Welcome to The Bridge. We are a show which connects East and West. My name is Jason. I'm originally from California, now living here in beautiful Beijing, city of museums. Today with me is Bebe.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Today we have a special guest. Sir Gilpert van Kerckhove is from Ghent, Belgium, where he graduated with a master's degree in electronic engineering. He speaks Dutch, French, English, Portuguese, German, survival Spanish, and survival Chinese. He first moved to China in 1980. He is the president and founder of Beijing Global Strategic Consulting Company Limited, a wholly owned foreign enterprise in management consulting that provides strategic guidance, investment and development advice, and lobbying to foreign and Chinese companies and entities. Since the early 2000s, he has been assisting the Beijing municipal authorities in areas of economic studies and foreign investment promotion. He was deeply involved in the preparations for the 2008 Summer Olympics in Beijing. His book, Toxic Capitalism, was published in August 2012. He is a recipient of the highest award for foreigners in China, the Friendship Award. He's also rotating chairman of the Foreign Expert Committee, Belt and Road in International Talent. He's also been knighted and earned the Knight of the Order of the Crown in Belgium. And finally, he has also worked in Brazil, Nigeria, Spain, Thailand, Indochina, Burma, currently Myanmar. There's more, but we only have an hour. Welcome to the show, Sir Gilpert.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Sir Gilbert. I'm not able to say your last name correctly.
It's difficult. Van Kerckhove.
Kerckhove.
Van
Kerckhove.
Kerckhove.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I blamed my parents.
It's okay. Thank you so much for coming to our show. And I want to share a kind of a funny story. So a few weeks ago, Jason said, "Oh, we're gonna have an interview with Sir Gilbert van Kerckhove." I was like, "Wait a minute! I just bought his book." So literally days before Jason sent me the message, I got this book online. And I was very interested in reading more about capitalism, because all the, problems we see. And so I just went online on this bookstore and I typed in capitalism, and I bought like 10 books that came up. And this was one of them. And when he told me about it, it was like, wait a minute, I had it right here. And this book, I mean, if people want to read about truth and common sense, you should get this book. So I totally enjoyed it, and I agree with the sensible things you said, and also all the observations. Thank you so much for writing this great book.
Welcome. Thank you for your comments. Yeah.
Well, I know this is not in the questions, but I was reading the book yesterday again, and I was rereading the introduction, and in it you start talking about how young people oftentimes say we have this green thing, like, making sure you bring your own bag to the grocery store. And then you say, oh, well, we don't have the green thing in my generation. We just, didn't have plastic bags. We washed everything. We didn't have disposable cups. We brought our bottles back to be washed and reused to the grocery store. Sorry, young person. We didn't have, it wasn't a trend in my day. That was just how things were.
I could totally envision that conversation between my mom and me. I mean, the way we lived back in the 1980s, I was born in 1980. So I'm also really interested in your experience when you first came to China. And in the book, you mentioned that you just followed the money and came to China. And that's rather odd, because 1980 in China, that's not really where you go to get rich. Right? Yeah. Now maybe.
It's many people ask me this question: why did you come to China in 1980? Sounds very, suspicious. Were you communist? You were fleeing your country? No, I was chasing the money. And the reason was I was looking for a job, and I got this job offered in Beijing. It was, first of all, it was well paid. It was a challenge professionally, very, very interesting job to do that I had never done in my life. So, okay, go for it, So when I came to China, there was no plan to stay here so long time. It was just like one more year, and I'm still around 42 years later.
Wow. So you have been here for a very long time, and I think that is, in fact, I think you've lived here as a foreigner longer than anyone I've ever interviewed or met, period. So would you tell us about what China was like in 1980, 1981 versus what you see today? And how did that transformation take place? What did it look like?
It's a good question. And usually when I start a seminar introducing to foreign people what is China about, I show them always 2-3 pictures. They're always the same. A picture that I took from Chang'an Avenue from Zhengguomenwai Bridge, where you see countryside, basically, with one small tower at the end of that avenue, which was the Beijing Hotel. There was no any other big building. There were hardly any cars on the street. There were some buses on the street. That was it. I went back exactly to the same spot 25 years later. And that is like amazing. You see all this glimmer of buildings along Chang'an Avenue, completely traffic jam on Zhengguomenwai Bridge. And then I say, well, this is what happened in China in 25 years. Can you believe? And like I always tell the people, the changes you see from the early 80s to today, it's really amazing. And many of the young Chinese have no clue where their country comes from. For them, it's also discovery. And they first say, Gilbert is talking nonsense, but then I show the pictures, like that one picture that I took in a Hunan street where everybody was gaping at me on the street because they said, gosh, what's this? Is that an extraterrestrial standing there? And everybody in Mao suit and looking at me. But I said, this picture tells you a very big story, because first of all, the amazement in the eyes of the Chinese people, but also no hostility, because I also worked in Vietnam, and there sometimes you could run into hostility from the Vietnamese who would think that I'm either French or American. And now this has changed a lot, but it's different. So I never had this hostility, just amazement and curiosity from the Chinese. And then people ask me, what's the biggest change you have seen? I say, well, you see the change in architecture, you see the change in technology, which is amazing. I mean, China has become a super country in terms of communication, modes, and everything.